Alright guys, welcome to ARWP, the All Real Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Eric Novak, and today we have a special guest. She has been doing so much in AEW. She has been doing so much for the women of wrestling in the independent field. She is Red Velvet. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you at the end of the video. She is Red Velvet.
Hey guys.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Of course, we're honored to have you. Let's start with the first question. Tell me why you became a professional wrestler.
I get that question a lot, actually. When I first started, my dad was a professional boxer. So I was always used to going to the gym with him and all that type of stuff. And I was very into like the mixed martial arts, but I knew somehow I just didn't want to be a boxer. I liked the sport, but I wanted something that had to do with more like being part of a team kind of and the sport aspect, but still entertainment. Mm-hmm. So later on, I did like MMA and all that. So like I was from 12 to 15. And then I was too tiny to like have matches, like weight class wise. So I started dancing and I fell in love with that. And then in third grade, I watched wrestling and everything. But like I joked with my mom, used to be like, oh, I'm going to be a wrestler because of Lita and Trish. But I never pulled through with it until like I was 2015. WWE did like an open call for Tough Enough. And I did a video. And it just took off from there. Like, I didn't get on the show, but everyone was like, keep going and stuff like that. So I started, like, looking up schools. And I was like, wow, there's really a school down here where I'm at and all that. And then from 2015 on, it just took off. And it's been great ever since. So ideally, I joked about it when I was, like, 9 years old. I never thought it was possible. Then I focused on, like, becoming a professional dancer. And then life came full circle. And now I'm a wrestler.
Well, yeah, it's amazing because back then, schools were really limited, and now there's schools everywhere. So it's such a great opportunity to have a school nearby you and train and learn. But yeah, it's funny. That's how life works. Now look at where you are.
Yeah, I think everything, like, when it's in your life, it's meant to happen. So it was funny that I had watched wrestling when I was little and had said it. So maybe somewhere at 9 years old, I put it into the universe, and then I came back, and then it got through. So it's great. And I love it because, like, wrestling is like I get to put in all my dance things and keep true to like my craft when I first started dancing. So I could throw that in the ring and still be like a fighter, do a sport, and entertain all in one. So that's like my favorite part.
Yeah. All right. Tell me about your first match. Tell me the first time you actually had to lace up the boots and get in the ring. How was that?
It was awesome because I laced up my boots really early on. My trainer threw me in there. I was 2-3 months in, like greener than green. And he's like, go for it. So my first match was actually with former TNA Knockout Rebel. And we had Pope Elijah Burke was our ref. So that was great because he was really good at like giving us direction and like talking to me and keeping me calm. I think that it's been 5 years that I've wrestled, and I've had the most people at that show because it was my first time. So everyone was like, oh my God, is she really going to wrestle? I had like all my friends there. So that was a good time. I wasn't nervous, and it went really, really well. We had really good people there. We had like Two Cold Scorpio. We had Ron Simmons, Teddy Long at that show, Leo Rush. And Ron Simmons pulled me to the back after and was like, how long have you been working? And I was like, I've been training for 2 months. And he's like, no, I don't believe it. So that was pretty cool. A lot of people asked me that night how long I'd been training, and it was only 2 months. So It was great.
Prodigy.
It was really early.
Prodigy at work.
Yeah, it was just sink or swim.
You brought up, like crowds. I was probably like the largest crowd. Tell me what was like the smallest crowd, and you can't bring up the no fans thing. So tell me like what was the smallest crowd you ever worked, and then what was the strangest crowd you ever worked, like the ring or event.
Well, smallest crowd. Not saying no fans because that's count. Smallest crowd has to be in like we did at the school. It was like a free event. Maybe like 10 people at most. No, I lied. There's been other shows that I've done and it's like 5 people. But that doesn't change. I think that puts the pressure more on me because all those 5 people are looking at you. When it's like 40,000 people are looking at you, but you don't really notice them. But when it's just 5 people there, you'll notice really well if like they're bullying you and everything. And even with dance, like they always tell us, like, don't mark. Marking is like when you do it half-assed. I've never been about that. So there could be 5 people and I'll still do a show at my fullest potential because those 5 people matter. They paid to get there anyways. Maybe the other 200 seats are empty, but those 5 people put their money. And if they chose to invest their money on me instead of going to the movies or the mall, I'm going to give them a heck of a show anyways. Strangest crowd. They weren't strange. It's just, it was my first international tour wrestling show in DR. And it was a lot of kid fans. And I'm used to, like, in the States, like, you run and, like, you know, clap people's hands. And I ran and the kids pulled me so hard by the hand. I almost fell and, like, security immediately came. So I kind of got scared. I wasn't scared of the fans. It just was so unexpected. And security came so fast to, like, get them off that I was like, man, I guess this is, like, what it's like to be, like, a celebrity. Like, this is cool. But it was strange for me because I never had so many people grab me. Like, they really could have knocked me on the floor with how hard. But they were passionate, so it was great.
All right, tell me, so far in your career, what was one moment where time stood still? Like a moment where you look back and you can remember the rest of your life.
I'm going to go with, this was like a life-changing moment because I suffered my first concussion.
Ooh.
And it was a 20 people over the top, and we were down to the last 5 people, and I was the only girl. So it was like a packed house, adrenaline rush, everyone's like clapping, and I go all the way to the top. And the guy before me had done a high crossbody on the guy, and the guy caught him. So my goal was to drop kick him to get both of them down. And I think the guy was sweaty, and I booted him, and my shoe went faster. Like, my legs went faster than my body. And I woke up in the back of an ambulance.
Oh.
So it was so weird because it was like somebody clicked pause. It was like I just remember jumping off, and I don't remember anything else. I went back and I, like, looked at videos, and it was scary because it was a tough, you know, day for me. That's like the bad side of wrestling. But that also made me so grateful because it was like, wow, like, it can end that quickly, your career. That was time changing. Like, time stopped because it literally time stopped. And when I woke up, I was in the back of an ambulance. I didn't know. I looked over at the paramedic and I didn't know who he was, and it was scary. I thought I was going to die in the back of the ambulance. A good moment.
Please.
Good moment probably would have to be the first time I won a title, because I was in a 3-way match it was myself, Rebel, and she was Jade at the time, but now everyone knows her for Mia Yim. So it was a 3-way, and I was, like, still really, like, new, like, oh my God, like, I'm in the ring with them, like, what an honor. And it was just a triple threat. So we did the match, everything, and then I won the match. And then we had Teddy Long on that show, and he came out of nowhere. So he was like, started saying this announcement, and then said how, like, you know, he had seen how hard I had worked, because I think I was the only girl that day for ring setup, and, like, was setting up the ring, like, no one had showed up. And then they just surprised me, and they, like, oh, we didn't want to tell you, but this was a title match, so, you know, blah, 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 they brought out the title, and it's like, it was just such a surprise, because it wasn't like you knew it was a title match. I just, like, was so honored to be in there with these girls that, you know, have done such a good career, and then, like, oh, the title was a benefit. I'm hoping to have, like, more moments. No, actually, I lied. That was my moment in the indies, but, like, I'll never forget, like, when I went through the tunnel for the first time on AEW. That was, like, you don't have time to pause and look around because, you know, you're in the moment. But going through the tunnel, that tunnel is, like, not till you in it. You feel like you're in the Hulk in, like, Universal, that it, like, takes off and shoots off. That, I think, was, like, best time. Because I remember always, like, they always tell me, like, soak up the moment. So, like, as I walk through, every time I go through the ring, you know, I say my prayer and everything. So I walk through, and, like, when I came out, like, the camera was right there. And there, like, there's not fans, but, like, all the talent is there and stuff. But that moment was great. That's, like, the most recent.
Tell me how that conversation or that call, that opportunity came. Like, did you know someone that got hooked you up with an opportunity?
No, I contacted. I had seen one of my close friends, Kylan King. She got on the show, so I was like, "Congrats!" Because you always like see people, but it's not until you see someone that you've worked personally with close by that you're like, "Oh my god!" Like you did it. Like what's up? And I never say like, "Hey, give me the contact," like whatever. No, I was just like, "Congratulations," whatever, and stuff like that. And then I was super excited about it. So I had a talk with he's like my mentor. I call him my wrestling dad. My real dad passed away, but he's my wrestling dad. And he spoke with his friend, and then they got me the email, and I sent it over, and then I just got the call, the email to show up. So when I showed up, I had like no idea what was gonna happen. I went in there, I started training, and then they were like, "Yeah, you have a match tonight." It was actually Brandy who said it to me. So she was standing next to me in the ring. So I thought she was talking to the girl that was next to me because it was like my first time there. I didn't know like why me. Like we're all just training, and then I just kind of stare at her and I'm like, "Are you talking to me?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm talking to you. You're in the match tonight." And I was like my heart dropped. So, I went over there just available as an extra and stuff like that, and I got a match, and it blew up. I think it has like 100K views now on YouTube. So, and it's taken off since then. So that was a good moment. It was surreal. That's why you always have to I went in there not knowing what was going to happen, but when it was time for me to train and get in the ring, I just gave it my all, and it it came out. So they looked at it, they appreciated it. So I was very happy about that.
Awesome. Tell me how you get the name Red Velvet. Where did I'm very curious. I love it.
I always get that question. So it started off, like I said, 2015. I did that WWE Tough Enough. You send your videos and stuff, and my hair was really, really red because I had gone through a breakup, switched it up, and I went to my friend's house. He was a wrestling fan, so I'm like, "All right, you need to help me film this promo." He's like, "All right, well, what are you going to call yourself?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to call myself Red Violet." Because somebody said that to me. It was like my alter ego. They gave it to me. And he just looked at me and he was like, "That's ugly. I don't like it." And I'm like, "I don't have anything else." And he's like, "Well, sure. You have that beautiful chocolate skin, that red hair. You look like a red velvet cake." He's like, "In your case, a cupcake because you're so tiny, but red velvet, why don't you call yourself Red Velvet?" So it started there. So I would have to say it started with the hair. I guess my hair and my skin color is what he saw, like a red velvet cake type. And then I started taking it more into the way I move, because it's there's red velvet cake and then there's velvet fabric, that's soft, burgundy, expensive. So I started saying all right, cool. That's the type of style I'm going to use when I get in the ring. And then it just took off to straight out of your mama's kitchen. And I'm always serving it up and all that. 5 foot fine, sweeter than wine. It just took off. I think once you really get into it and find that person, I found my inner Red Velvet, and it went from just my hair to a whole persona. So it started off with hair, and then it went to the whole thing.
The attitude.
Yeah.
How is
way of life.
How is putting on the gear, getting ready, knowing that, you're Red Velvet, putting on that red gear. How was it knowing that, right about that is showtime and you're all in with that act? How does it work, from switching to your regular
gears?
Yeah.
To me, everyone always says oh, their gimmick is them turned up to 100. I'm normally turned up to 100 anyways, but to me when I put on Red Velvet, when Red Velvet comes out, it's a mixture of exactly how I feel before I used to get on stage. I'm that quiet person. When I'm at AEW or at any indie show, I'm very quiet, to myself. I'll joke around with people and stuff, but I'm not the big outspoken person unless I'm comfortable. And it's so funny because every time I go in, I'm the tiniest girl, oh, hair's all done, makeup all comes ready. So girls sometimes look "Oh, you're so cute," and I don't say anything, thank you, whatever. And then I get in the ring and it's I explode. And then the reaction of people when I get backstage is the best, because it's always "Oh my God, you did so good, how long you been working?" And I love that, because to me it's about being humble. I don't go "Oh, I'm the shit," blah, 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 none of that. I go into a show humble, always open and ready to work with whoever. But I always take a moment, like, right before I go out to the ring. I always say if I'm not nervous, something bad's going to happen. Because if you don't have, I get nervous. I've danced for over 10, 12 years. I still get nervous right before going on stage. I still get nervous right before going into the ring. And, like, prior to, like, hair and makeup, I always like to take some time to, like, I'll call my family, because that time that I did have a concussion, I hadn't spoke with my family. They weren't at that show. So it's like they got the call that I was at the hospital. So I always, like, now just, like, take the time, you know, I call my man, I call my family, and then I always sit and, like, pray. And then, like, my dad passed away, so, like, I pray to him because he used to box. So I always, like, always pray that he'll protect me and that I'll, like, the way I go into the ring is the way I want to come out. I never want to suffer that type of injury again. I tore my meniscus in a match in Dominican Republic. I was way too hyped to notice anyway, so I kept going. But I always just, like, take at least 20, 30 minutes to myself to just get, like, centered before. But lacing up the boots, putting up, like, you know, have my bedazzled shoes and everything, like, that's the best time.
All right.
Those are the moments everyone needs to, like, capture and soak in, because once you're done, and you can't get those back.
No, yeah, I agree with you 100%. Tell me a few wrestlers you'd want to face, you know, for the future. It doesn't have to necessarily be AEW. It could be anyone, but, like, 3 people or a few that you really want to get in that ring with.
3. Okay, so that's tough. I'm gonna bring it out that, like, I would love to face everybody. I always tell them, like, these questions, like, they put me on, like, on the spot, because you never want to, like, unname somebody or whatever. I want to go against anyone who wants to step up and go against Red Velvet. If I had to say 3 people, like, just, I had to say, it's controversial, but Tessa Blanchard. I love that she says that she's the best. I think I'm one of the best, so I would love to get in there toe-to-toe with her, because if you are in order to be the best, you got to beat the best, right? So if she says she is the best, so I definitely want to get in there and then make that happen somehow, some way. You know, I've been at it for 5 years. She's been all around the world, and I have yet to cross paths with her at all.
She's a free agent. She's a free agent now, so that can happen.
So, yeah, I got to make that happen. She's top on my list. I'm trying to think. There's just so many people. I would love to work on, like, I would love to work Sheeta, now that we're in the same circle in AEW, or any of the other girls from Japan. I haven't been fortunate yet to go to Japan, so if Japan can come to me and I can wrestle one of them, that'd be great. So I'm going to say Sheeta, but I would be open to any other girls from Japan. And then one more. I'm trying to, like, think of every, like, diverse area. I want to go up against whoever thinks they're the best of the best in Mexico. Because that's, like, going to be, like, a real big difference. I wouldn't say difference style match, because I like to do lucha stuff too, but the Mexican girls can go. So I would say Tessa Blanchard, Sheeta, or any of the girls from Japan. And I'll put it out there like a challenge to any girl who thinks she's the best wrestler in Mexico.
All right, awesome. Just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Give me one second. Sorry, my little brother was in the room and I just needed to tell him.
Oh, no worries. I had the same thing. My niece was, like, screaming outside the door, not the phone.
All right. So, yeah, so we're talking about 3 people you'd want to wrestle. Now tell me 3 people that you have wrestled and the fans who are listening to this should go watch you immediately, because they're amazing.
Of course. Huge person, La Rosa Negra. She was my trainer. Amazing. That was my dream. She first started training me before I started, like, physically training at a school in Miami. She was my first trainer. I had the opportunity to go one-on-one with her. I did a tour with her in Puerto Rico that she brought me over, but I didn't get to face her. I was her tag partner. I got to face her this year in February in the Bahamas with Fighting Evolution Wrestling. They got to check her out. She should be in one of these big companies because she can go. So, and you learn from the best. So a lot of what I've learned is because of her as well. Are we doing girls or has to be guys?
It could be any. I have no. It's not a preference thing. It could be anyone. Anyone that you faced and want to face.
So I faced Rosa. I'm thinking. Oh, I'm about to face. August 1st, I ideally should be facing Insidious. She's from the Texas area, trains at Booker T's school. I'm excited for that one. I think people need to look into her as well. Her gimmick is like top notch. I got to like meet her on a personal level, roomed with her. Now I'm gonna go against her, but she really caught my eye when I first met her. So I definitely want people to look at her. I feel like I have wrestling friends that are gonna be like, "Why didn't you say my name?" I know so many people. I can't even say
it's more. It's not more about like their side. It's more about you. Like the fans should watch matches that you're a part of to see what you could do.
Oh, with them. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So they gotta keep their eye out because August 1st I'll be going against Insidious. They can go back and look on my YouTube page. I have it was me against Rosa. I'm trying to think what other matches. I've had some good matches with people. I'm trying to think. I can't think of somebody right now. We'll go with those two right now. Oh, I had a good match. I had a good match with, it was like a triple threat down here in Miami. It was myself, Roxy Rouge, she's like from Florida area, and then Kylie King. That was a good match. That's up on YouTube on my page as well. But Kylie's already in AEW as well with me, so everyone's been looking at her stuff. But that's for right now. There's a lot of people I really want to go against. Now that the door's open with AEW, I definitely want to do like, I wouldn't mind doing a triple threat like me, Eva Lise, and Diamante, just for like Latina sake, like 3 Latinas going at it. Because obviously, like, a lot of people don't know, but I was born in Miami, but my family is fully Colombian, so I rep that with pride. So that would be cool. You know, sometimes I've spoke to people in Spanish, and they're just like, oh my God, like, you speak Spanish? Like, yeah, my parents don't even speak English. So that would be cool.
Did you find out, like, us yesterday about the women's tag tournament that's coming up?
Yes, and I made sure I made it loud and clear that I want in on that. You know, Brandy put up a tweet and AEW, and I've been writing all over. I want in on this. So, you know, hopefully they put me in there. I don't see why not.
Of course.
But I want in.
Who would you want as a tag partner?
I got that question today, too.
Really?
They did a podcast earlier, and then everyone's asking me these questions. If I had to pick one person, like, boop, like, had no choice, not had no choice, but had to pick right away, would be Big Swole. Like, I had a match with her, and, like, it wasn't that long of a match, but we had just, like, such good chemistry, and that was us going against each other, so I would love to see, like, we could totally kick ass tagging. If I had to pick somebody who wasn't signed, but is, like, has been doing work with them, I definitely would throw Kylie on my end. She's a big girl, and, like, big and little, like, I think we could have a good partnership as well.
All right.
So,
all right. And a question that I believe you haven't been asked yet is, what would you make that name? What would be your tag name if you tagged him with Big Swole or Kylan?
If I was with Big Swole, I was joking yesterday and I said Swole Desserts. If anyone comes up with a better name, let us know. Please hashtag it, put it on my Instagram, my Twitter, whatever. That'd be dope. And with Kylan, oh my God, that'd be... I'm trying to think, she's the queen of crazy, and I'm the missing ingredient. So it would have to be something with, like, crazy and sweets, or, like, sweets and king sweets. I don't know, something like that.
It's in production. It's in production.
I'll let the fans do that, maybe.
Awesome. All right. And, you know, because you, like you said, you were, or still are, since you are doing this, a wrestling fan, can you tell me a few matches that you remember watching and loving?
Matches. Okay, I'm gonna go to the first one. I can't give you like the exact like when was it because I was a third grader and I don't think I remember. First match I ever watched was The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin. It had to have been like Falls Count Anywhere because like I just remember they went all into the crowd. That was like, it was a very memorable match because it was my first match I ever watched. I can't remember where it was or what it was because I didn't know what wrestling was. I just saw it.
Yeah.
That match. I'm trying to think. There's so many good matches. This is hard. I was definitely a fan of Lita and Trish, their angle. I'm trying to think of matches that I've like watched and cried because there's been a few. That's hard. That's a hard one. Do you have any matches that you remember?
From WWE, there's a couple. Like for me,
or anywhere, anywhere.
Well, it's funny you brought it up because, like you said, you don't remember your first match because you were, young. I embarrassed myself so much because when I looked up wrestling, I found an Impact match with who is one of my favorites now, TJP versus DJZ, and I thought that was WWE. So I'm like, oh, I want to buy tickets for WWE. And when I found out it wasn't, I went to WWE event and I was like, wait, where are the guys that I watched? And it was like Impact Wrestling. So that's
You're
definitely
like, who are they?
yeah. And I started watching, late. I started watching in 2015. So like I should have understood, but for some reason I didn't know that there were different wrestling promotions
Of course.
It's amazing. But one from WWE that really got me was the Cruiserweight Classic. And I want to ask you about the Evolution pay-per-view. We'll get to that. Did you watch the Evolution pay-per-view? So the Cruiserweight Classic was huge for me because, again, the first ever person I watched was TJP. Him being in the tournament was amazing, and everyone voted on people like Zack Sabre Jr. or Kota Ibushi because of where they were in the companies of wrestling, New Japan, Evolve, and all that. When TJ won, that was like the biggest moment for me in all time. But back to you, how did you feel about the Evolution pay-per-view? An entire pay-per-view devoted to women's wrestling, and having not only that, but having unique and brand new matches and having tag teams come back like Trish and Lita.
I think it was great to watch because I was now watching from a different point of view. I had my childhood idols in there, so I had that moment where I could be a fan. And then I had like that moment where like I'm a wrestler now, I'm a worker. So I'm watching it from that type of angle too, like, ooh, was I good? Like, ooh, that she did this, she did that, critiquing and everything. But it was just like, it was great that like all I've ever wanted when I started watching wrestling and it getting better was for it to evolve. And the fact that it's evolved to this much that so many women were in it and so many women right now are just as good as the guys. Some are better. That was amazing. Like I met up with a couple friends that are workers as well, and we watched the pay-per-view, and it was just a good moment. It was a moment like, wow, like wrestling's changing, and it's good to know that a couple of years from now, like when I sit down with my kids, like I can tell them like, yeah, I was a part of something when it's at its peak, and no matter what happens, I'm going to be watching the women's tournament for AEW. I would love to be a part of it, and oh man, if I'm going to be a part of it, like, that's something I can take with me and tell my kids as well, because now women, like the fact that they're having women tag titles and even when they did the Mae Young Classic, the fact that we're being equal, it makes me happy. And it makes me happy that I'm like in the moment where we still could define more history. It's not like we've reached that peak of like, oh, that's it, we can't do anything else. Like we're just breaking barriers.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect note to just end it there. It's a perfect line. But, like I said, I'm super excited for this. I love the fact that AEW is opening to a whole new world, a whole new division. And this is something unique and mysterious that no one has any information on. So for news to keep coming, that's going to be amazing. Where can people find you on all sorts of social media or Twitch stream or YouTube? Anything that, your name is on, people can subscribe and follow you through?
Sure. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, it's LA_Velvet with 2 T's. Twitter, I am at that's THEE, Red Velvet with 2 T's. Facebook, you guys can find me under Stephanie Cardona because Facebook, I guess, apparently doesn't like me and doesn't want me to use Red Velvet. I have my separate Red Velvet, profile, but, people to DM me if they want, merch and stuff like that. You can just find me under Stephanie Cardona. In my, I believe it's in my Facebook too, but in my Instagram, in my link, I have my YouTube channel where you guys can look up matches. And I have my merch, my shirts are being sold on Pro Wrestling Tees. So it's prowrestlingtees.com/velvet with 2 T's, I believe. And then if anybody wants 8x10s, I have 8x10s, I have 4x6s, and I have these cute 5-foot fine suited and wine pins. They can DM me for that. That's not on Pro Wrestling Tees or on a site, but you can just tell people they can DM me. You guys can DM me, message me at a reasonable hour, and I can ship those out to whoever wants them.
Of course, and I'm going to put all that in the bio, so if someone didn't catch that, it's all the information will be there. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. I'll see you guys next time with another awesome video. If you guys haven't done it yet, please like, comment, subscribe, and share with all your friends. And if you haven't seen Red Velvet before, this is the first time you've heard of her, all her information is in the bio below, her matches, her Instagram, her Twitter, everything. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.